With the appearance of the three figures, the entire world suddenly fell into a deep silence. All the powerful beings lowered their heads slightly, with fear evident on their faces. The three figures in the sky were none other than the strongest in the northern domain, and the leaders of the three overlord forces. Purple Cloud, True Monarch, Thunder Sound Venerable, Golden Rock Emperor. These three names were not only well known across the Tianluo continent, but in the northern domain. They were the overlords, and no one dared disobey their orders. In midair, Chen fixed his gaze on the three figures. On the far left was a middle-aged man, wearing a flowing white robe, looking quite extraordinary. However, his purple pupils emanated a strange and eerie aura, making it impossible to underestimate him. In the center was a bald man with large ears, dressed in a gray robe. His sleeves were extraordinarily wide, as though they contained the vast universe, with subtle spatial fluctuations emanating from them. His round face wore a kind smile, but only those with keen perception could sense the coldness hidden deep within his seemingly benevolent eyes. On the far right was a man in a golden robe. He had a stern expression, a hooked nose, and eyes that gleamed with a faint golden color, sharp as a blade. Just by staring at someone, it felt like 1,000 swords piercing the heart, making it impossible to meet his gaze. The three of them radiated equally powerful auras, causing the space around them to tremble. The spiritual energy that had been surging through the world gradually became calm as it neared their bodies, like docile sheep. Simply standing there, they seemed to merge with the heavens and earth, giving off an uncanny feeling of unity between heaven and man. It was as though attacking them would be equivalent to attacking this entire world. This strange sensation made Chen's gaze tighten. These three overlords had indeed begun to touch the realm of heavenly supremacy. Though they were still considered Earth's supreme great perfections, in comparison to ordinary great perfections, they were like fireflies next to the bright moon. Previously, Chen had easily crushed many great perfections, but these three could do the same effortlessly. Mandala, Ling Shi, and the others also arrived at this moment, appearing beside Chen. Their gazes were filled with vigilance and respect as they watched the three figures. These three guys truly deserve to be the overlords of the northern domain. Their abilities are almost on par with the four hall masters of the ancient heavenly palace, Mandala whispered, her delicate face filled with seriousness. Upon hearing this, Chen was slightly surprised. So, the four hall masters of the ancient heavenly palace have also touched the heavenly supreme realm. He had always thought that the four hall masters were only Earth's supreme great perfections. Mandala rolled her eyes at him and said, "After all, they were all personally trained by the heavenly emperor. If the ancient heavenly palace hadn't been established for such a short time, or if they hadn't encountered the extraterritorial evil clan's invasion, they would all have reached the heavenly supreme realm." Chen nodded in realization. Ever since he had been able to easily slay Earth's supreme great perfections, he had occasionally sensed that the overall strength of the ancient heavenly palace seemed a bit distorted. They possessed a heavenly emperor who had reached the saint-grade heavenly supreme realm, but the combat power below him seemed somewhat lacking. If the four hall masters were merely top-tier Earth's supreme great perfections, they likely wouldn't even qualify to defend the northern domain. However, if they had touched the heavenly supreme realm, they might barely qualify. But compared to the heavenly emperor, the contrast in strength between them still seemed somewhat abrupt. Becoming a heavenly supreme, whether in ancient times or now, is not something that can be easily achieved, because it represents a foundation. Look at the Western Heaven Battle Hall. Though the Western Battle Emperor is a top-tier immortal grade heavenly supreme, doesn't he still have no second heavenly supreme under his command? As if understanding Chen's thoughts, Mandala shook her head and said. Chen nodded slightly, deep in thought. The heavenly supreme realm represented a foundation. In today's Great Thousand Worlds, there were many superpower factions, but most of them only had one or two heavenly supremes holding sway. In contrast, ancient clans like the Futu ancient clan had a significant number of heavenly supremes. In a certain sense, this was the foundation of an ancient clan. So, these three guys in front of us are also formidable figures. If this were the ancient heavenly palace from the past, they would have the ability to vie for the position of Hall Master, Mandala said, but there was a hint of concern in her eyes. Although Chen had previously been domineering and unstoppable, that was just a prelude. If Mu Manor wanted to rise to the position of overlord in the northern domain, they would have to wrestle that title from these 3 former overlords. And once they failed, all of them would probably be reduced to dust under the wrath of these 3 overlords. Chen nodded slightly. From the 3 in front of him, he could sense faint traces of danger. Clearly, today, if they at Mu Manor wanted to achieve their grand goal, a fierce battle was inevitable. As Chen locked his gaze on Purple Cloud, True Monarch, Thunder Sound Venerable, and Golden Rock Emperor, the 3 of them also fixed their eyes on him. Deep in their gazes, a faint killing intent flickered. Earlier, the 9 peak Great Perfections were their strongest subordinates. Now, half of them had been mercilessly killed by Chen. This price, even they, the former overlords, felt deeply pained by. They had previously underestimated Chen's methods and his ruthless decisiveness. Purple Cloud, True Monarch's gaze was the most sinister. He glared coldly at Chen and slowly said, truly impressive. It's been many years since my Purple Cloud sect has suffered such a major loss. You are quite exceptional. Within the Purple Cloud sect, 6 Great Perfection experts had earlier been sealed by Chen, becoming Lower Earth Supremes. Now, 2 of their strongest 9 peak Great Perfections had died by Chen's hands, and 1 was severely injured. The entire upper echelon of Purple Cloud sect had been nearly wiped out by Chen. Looking at Purple Cloud True Monarch's cold gaze, Chen chuckled lightly and said, "Your people from Purple Cloud sect came to Mu Manor and wreaked havoc. Whatever happens next is just the consequence of your actions." Purple Cloud True Monarch's eyes turned frosty, and he sneered. "A mere Mu Manor, my Purple Cloud sect could destroy with a flip of the hand. How dare you show off in front of me?" Chen shook his head. "It's a pity that now, it's your Purple Cloud sect that's being wiped out cleanly." Facing Purple Cloud True Monarch's chilling killing intent, Chen showed no sign of retreating. On the contrary, he met it head-on. He knew that at such a moment, any retreat would only let the enemy gain more ground and devour them step by step. In the northern wilderness, the surrounding powerful figures watched as Chen and Purple Cloud True Monarch locked in a standoff. They were all silent, too afraid to make a sound. They knew that neither of these 2 were pushovers, and when they clashed, it would undoubtedly be disastrous. Hearing Chen's words, Purple Cloud True Monarch couldn't help but laugh with fury. His laughter was filled with a deep killing intent, which caused the temperature in the air to drop sharply. "Don't worry. After today, I'll personally deal with your Mu Manor and make sure not even a chicken or dog is left." Purple Cloud True Monarch's purple pupils locked onto Chen, and a cruel, twisted smile appeared on his lips. "Your northern domain will also be turned into a sea of blood by my wrath. And you, Chen, will become the center of the northern domain because all this disaster will have been brought about by your ignorance and stupidity." Feeling the icy killing intent from Purple Cloud True Monarch, Chen remained unfazed. He lightly replied, "Noisy animal. If your words were enough, you would have already unified the Tianluo continent." Around them, countless powerful figures twitched slightly. They clearly hadn't expected the young mansion lord of Mu Manor to be not only ruthless in action, but also sharp-tongued. Purple Cloud True Monarch would probably be driven mad by him. Their eyes subtly shifted toward Purple Cloud True Monarch, and indeed, they saw his rage and killing intent about to explode. The space around them trembled under his fury, cracks appearing in the air. However, when Purple Cloud True Monarch's anger and killing intent reached their peak, his expression gradually calmed. But this calmness was more like the ominous stillness before a storm. He no longer looked at Chen. Instead, he turned to look at Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor, speaking in a flat tone. "I will make this little beast watch as I crush him inch by inch. What are your plans?" Purple Cloud Sect, Thunder Sound Mountain, and Golden Rock Mansion were all powerful rivals. But now, due to the emergence of Chen as a challenger, it was clear they were willing to temporarily put aside their grudges and work together to eliminate this audacious challenger before turning on each other. Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor exchanged glances, and then the former smiled and said, Then let Purple Cloud True Monarch make the first move and teach this arrogant kid a lesson. At this moment, Purple Cloud True Monarch's killing intent had reached its peak, while the Mansion Master of Mu Manor, although young, clearly possessed some abilities. If they could make Purple Cloud True Monarch take the first step and probe Mu Chen, that would naturally be the best outcome. If, at that time, the boy showed signs of defeat, they could seize the opportunity to strike and eliminate him, then divide the Mu Manor amongst themselves. In any case, from today onwards, the Northern Domain would no longer have the existence of Mu Manor. Upon hearing this, Purple Cloud True Monarch calmly nodded. Although Mu Chen was somewhat peculiar, he did not feel overly threatened. What he feared more were these two rivals taking advantage of the situation to strike at him. But as it seemed, they too were eager to eliminate Mu Manor. He then turned around, his violet pupils glowing with an eerie purple light, staring at Mu Chen as he slowly spoke. Since that's the case, are you ready to wait for death? Are you ready to wait for death? Purple Cloud True Monarch's calm voice, devoid of any ripple, spread across the heavens and earth. If these words came from anyone else's mouth, they might sound laughable, but now, no one could laugh. Because in the Northern Domain, once Purple Cloud True Monarch uttered these words, everyone, except for the other two overlords, could only obediently await their demise. However, it seemed there was now a third person. Under the watchful eyes of countless onlookers, Mu Chen did not respond to Purple Cloud True Monarch. Instead, he looked toward Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor, smiling as he said, "Aren't you two going to join in?" He could clearly tell that both Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor harbored murderous intent toward him, but surprisingly, he did not shrink back. Instead, he openly provoked them. The powerful figures around the northern wilderness couldn't help but twitch their faces. Was Mu Chen truly confident, or had he become insanely reckless? Having already provoked Purple Cloud True Monarch, did he now want to drag Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor into the fray? And if the three overlords attacked together, they believed Mu Chen would undoubtedly die today. Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor also narrowed their eyes at Mu Chen's behavior, their gaze cold and focused, as if trying to see through him. They too did not understand why Mu Chen was acting so arrogantly. Faced with their intense stares, Mu Chen greeted them with a smile, his pitch-black eyes showing no signs of fear, instead filled with blazing battle intent. Seeing his demeanor, both Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor's eyes flickered. In this situation, he was still so composed. Either Mu Chen was a madman, or he had a hidden trump card. As they were the overlords of the Northern Domain, caution was part of their nature, and they were inclined to believe the latter. With a slight smile, Thunder Sound Venerable said, "You are now the prey of Purple Cloud True Monarch. It would be unwise for us to interfere." Whether Mu Chen was a madman or had some hidden strength, with Purple Cloud True Monarch taking the first step to test him, they could easily assess Mu Chen's abilities. For now, the enemy's methods were unknown. If they acted rashly, they might be dragged into the fight if Mu Chen had any self-destructive tricks up his sleeve. They could afford to wait, allowing Purple Cloud True Monarch to probe Mu Chen. Once they understood his capabilities, they would let Mu Chen know just how miserable his end would be when he tried to show off in front of them. Mu Chen looked at the unmoving duo and smiled. What a pity. Purple Cloud True Monarch's eyelids lowered as he spoke faintly. Why bother pretending and playing tricks when you're about to die? Mu Chen smiled. In that case, let me experience just how far one can truly reach when they touch the Heavenly Supreme. As his voice fell, the sacred floating pagoda within his pupils erupted with light, and his spiritual energy surged like a flood, coursing through his body before being channeled into the sacred floating pagoda. After conversion and amplification, it surged back into him. Boom. At this moment, crystal light suddenly burst out from Mu Chen's body, his robes billowing and rustling, as his spiritual power surged fiercely, climbing to new heights. In just a few breaths, the spiritual energy emanating from Mu Chen's body surpassed that of some top-tier great perfection experts. Seeing this scene, many powerful figures in the world couldn't help but murmur in surprise. Mu Chen, despite only having the strength of a half-step peak great perfection, unleashed spiritual energy from his body that was even more powerful than that of a nine-peak great perfection. Moreover, the crystal spiritual energy he wielded was clearly extraordinary, unlike anything seen before. The vast, endless spiritual power howled within his body. Chen slowly clenched his fingers into a fist and then punched forward. Boom! A massive crystal fist imprint shot out, carrying immense power. It exploded through the void like a meteor, hurtling toward Purple Cloud, True Monarch. However, facing Chen's fierce punch, Purple Cloud, True Monarch merely sneered coldly and made no attempt to defend. With his arms crossed, he allowed Chen's punch to strike him head-on. Boom! The fist collided with Purple Cloud, True Monarch's body. The surrounding space seemed to tremble violently, as though it was on the verge of shattering. When the punch's radiance faded, countless gazes narrowed in astonishment. They saw that Purple Cloud, True Monarch remained unchanged, still standing with his arms crossed, his body unmoved. The terrifying punch that had previously seemed unstoppable had failed to shake him in the slightest. Chen, who had previously been invincible, had finally met an obstacle. Like an ant, Purple Cloud, True Monarch sneered. The Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor exchanged glances. Could it be that this guy was just bluffing? His attack hadn't even made a dent in Purple Cloud, True Monarch's defenses. Amidst the sympathetic gazes, Chen looked at Purple Cloud, True Monarch with some surprise, then smiled. So, I've really touched a bit of the Heavenly Supreme's mystery. It was rumored that in the Heavenly Supreme stage, one could merge with the heavens and earth, forming an extremely powerful protective force. Any attack that struck the body would have most of its force dispersed into the surrounding world. This was the so-called unity of heaven and man. Clearly, Purple Cloud, True Monarch had dispersed Chen's attack into the surrounding world, leaving only a fraction of the force to hit his body. Naturally, he was able to withstand it effortlessly. Chen had never faced someone with the power of a Heavenly Supreme before, so he had to test the waters first. You're not too bad, but unfortunately, it's too late. Purple Cloud, True Monarch's face darkened, and a murderous intent flickered in his purple pupils. Chen shook his head and smiled. That's something you can say when you've truly reached the Heavenly Supreme stage and can perfectly merge with the heavens. But right now, your half-baked version of it isn't as strong as you think. You're courting death, still talking back at a time like this. Purple Cloud, True Monarch's voice turned icy. However, Chen no longer paid him any attention. He formed a seal with one hand, and immediately, purple golden light erupted from behind him, forming a massive silhouette. It was clear he had activated his immortal golden body. Buzz! On the immortal golden body, purple golden patterns emerged, and soon, they unraveled like a massive dragon, circling around him. Immortal divine runes, immortal golden bow. Chen stretched out his hand, and hundreds of immortal divine runes rushed toward him, wildly converging in his hand. After only a few moments, the enormous purple golden light transformed into a golden bow. Chen grasped the golden bow, his expression indifferent as he looked at Purple Cloud, True Monarch. He pulled the bowstring, and the purple golden light condensed fiercely on the string, finally forming a golden arrow that was only about a foot long. It appeared to be crafted from gold, covered in mysterious runes. At the same time, Chen flicked his sleeve, and suddenly, a gelatinous, golden liquid flew out, enveloping the golden arrow completely. The golden liquid quickly solidified, and the light on the golden arrow faded, making it look far less dazzling, almost ordinary. This golden, jelly-like liquid was none other than the extraordinary treasure, the Vajra-piercing spirit essence, that Chen had obtained from the Great Thousand Tower using demon-slaying points. The golden arrow, now encased in the golden liquid, pointed menacingly toward Purple Cloud, True Monarch. Chen smiled faintly and softly said, "Now, let's see if you can stand firm this time." Buzz! As the words left his mouth, he relaxed his finger, the bowstring vibrating. A faint golden light shot out with explosive speed, cutting through the air toward Purple Cloud, True Monarch. The moment the golden light shot forth, Purple Cloud, True Monarch's pupils contracted sharply. He could feel an indescribable sharpness coming toward him, and his skin prickled in pain. This filled him with a sense of dread. The power of Mu Chen's arrow was beyond imagination, so terrifying that even with his level of unity of heaven and man, he could not fully withstand it. This guy really has some ability, he muttered. Purple Cloud, True Monarch's face darkened as he watched the rapidly enlarging golden light in his sight. Without daring to waste any time, he took a deep breath, stomped his foot, and in an instant, purple light spread out. A massive purple shadow appeared behind him. It was clearly the supreme Dharmakaya he had cultivated. Purple Emperor's star-plucking finger. Purple Cloud, True Monarch shouted in a low voice, his hand forming a seal. His 2 fingers curved, and with a sudden motion, he pointed sharply into the air. The purple shadow also extended its fingers, and as purple light swirled around them, it seemed to transform into a purple starry sky, the tips of the fingers aiming to pluck the stars themselves. As soon as Purple Cloud True Monarch made his move, countless gasps echoed. Everyone knew that one of his killing moves was the Purple Emperor's star-plucking finger, and now, he had used it without hesitation. Clearly, Mu Chen's attack had made Purple Cloud True Monarch feel a genuine threat. Whoosh! In the midst of the countless gazes watching, a faint golden light streaked across the sky. A few breaths later, it collided violently with the purple giant finger in a powerful clash. The sound of the bowstring vibrating seemed to linger in the heavens, while the faint golden light collided fiercely with the purple giant finger that shattered the sky. Crack! The moment of impact, the first to collapse was the surrounding space. Countless fragments of space flew out, and sharp beams of light cut the sky within 1,000 miles into 1,000 pieces. All eyes were locked on the point of collision. It was clear to see that both Mu Chen and Purple Cloud True Monarch were attacking with ruthless determination, leaving no room for testing. This clash alone showed the disparity between them. Boom! Boom! In the sky, the purple giant finger erupted with a terrifying purple storm, its momentum awe-inspiring. Meanwhile, the faint golden light remained unchanged, unmoving even in the face of the savage purple storm. Purple Cloud, True Monarch floated in midair, his gaze fixed on the faint golden light. His expression grew darker, for he could sense that the dangerous aura coming from that golden light had not weakened. This kid is really strange. Purple Cloud, True Monarch murmured to himself. With just half a step into the Great Perfection stage, Mu Chen's offensive was surprisingly powerful, enough to rival even a strong being like him, who was close to Heavenly Supreme. Purple Cloud, True Monarch's eyes flashed, and he took a deep breath, quickly forming a seal with one hand. Boom! The purple giant finger became engulfed with a maddening surge of purple energy. The purple starry sky expanded even further, and from a distance, it looked like a real starry sky. Within it, countless purple stars spun, releasing immense power. With the growing force of the purple giant finger, the faint golden light finally showed signs of being suppressed. Upon seeing this, Lu Tiandao and the other powerful members of Mu Manor changed their expressions, their hands clenched tightly. Their hearts were in their throats, for they knew the significance of this clash. If Mu Chen succeeded, it would prove that he could stand toe-to-toe with powerful beings like Purple Cloud True Monarch. But if he faltered, the lurking threats of Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor would no doubt come to fruition, and they would strike without hesitation, sending Mu Chen and Mu Manor into irreversible ruin. Under the intense, anxious gazes of countless people, Mu Chen stared at the increasingly terrifying purple storm. The dreadful power it emitted had truly reached an alarming level. If he were still just an Upper Earth Supreme, this kind of attack would have utterly overwhelmed him. But unfortunately, he had greatly advanced since then. He raised a finger, pointing toward the faint golden light, and with a soft motion, a low voice emerged from his lips. Break! Boom! The moment his voice fell, the once faint golden light suddenly seemed to give up all restraint, and it burst forth in dazzling brilliance, like a golden sun rising in the sky. An indescribable sharp aura surged into the sky at that moment. The sharpness seemed to be able to pierce through the heavens and earth, unstoppable. Buzz! Within the golden light, the golden arrows trembled violently. The next moment, intricate and ancient patterns began to grow from the arrows, with spiral golden markings appearing at the tip of the arrow. Whoosh! The golden arrow shook, and a faint hissing sound was heard. In the blink of an eye, the golden light pierced through the enormous purple finger. Despite the terrifying purple storm, it failed to stop the golden arrow in the slightest. Whoosh! A deafening roar echoed throughout the heavens and earth. What? The expression of Purple Cloud, true monarch, changed drastically. He hadn't expected that Mu Chen's attack would become this overwhelming in an instant. Whoosh! A faint golden light pierced through the space, and within moments, it headed straight toward the Purple Cloud, true monarch's main body. Seeing the golden light shooting toward him, Purple Cloud, true monarch's face became extremely serious. The intense sense of danger made his hair stand on end. Then, with a furious roar, a massive purple shadow, almost solid, appeared behind him. It swung its giant fist, smashing down with a purple fist light that covered the sky and the sun. Meanwhile, his body rapidly retreated. Boom! The golden arrow collided without hesitation with the massive golden fist. However, despite the seemingly invincible attack, it still failed to stop the golden arrow, which quickly dissipated in light. In fact, even the giant fist of the purple shadow shattered in the next instant. Purple light surged, and the purple shadow staggered back, its entire arm shattering. However, after destroying one arm of the massive shadow, the power in the golden arrow was finally completely exhausted, and with a loud bang, it shattered. Golden liquid flowed down, eventually whistling back and landing in Mu Chen's hand, slowly wriggling like jelly. Truly, a treasure essential for creating an unparalleled divine artifact, Mu Chen said, his eyes gleaming as he looked at the indestructible diamond spirit liquid in his hand. The effectiveness of the earlier attack, which had such a result, was almost half due to it. If it weren't for this indestructible diamond spirit liquid, which specialized in breaking spiritual power, Mu Chen's arrow, though able to make Purple Cloud, true monarch, stumble, wouldn't have been able to shatter one of his supreme Dharma body's arms. The golden liquid flowed like a living creature at Mu Chen's fingertips. He looked up and saw in the distance that Purple Cloud, true monarch's face had turned pale, his expression dark and terrifying. Still an ant this time? Mu Chen asked with a faint smile, looking at the dark-eyed Purple Cloud, true monarch. Purple Cloud, true monarch's face twitched. Though furious, he could not argue, for it was clear to anyone that Mu Chen's previous attack had forced him into an incredibly embarrassing position. Looks like you're still not convinced, Mu Chen said with a faint smile, seeing the grim Purple Cloud, true monarch. He raised a hand and made a hand seal. At once, over 100 immortal divine runes gathered and formed a golden bow. Buzz! Mu Chen drew the bowstring, giving it a slight tremor, and another streak of golden light shot out. At the same time, a strand of the indestructible diamond spirit liquid wrapped around the tip of the golden light. Here comes another. He released the arrow, and as he lifted his palm, countless gazes widened in shock as over 100 immortal divine runes gathered again to form the golden bow. Buzz! The bowstring vibrated, and another arrow shot out. Buzz! Buzz! In just a few dozen breaths, Mu Chen's body radiated golden light as 10 golden arrows shot out in quick succession, enveloping Purple Cloud, true monarch. The 10 golden arrows came at him, and even Purple Cloud, true monarch's expression changed. He had already experienced the dominance of these golden arrows, and now with 10 coming at once, if struck, he would certainly be unable to withstand them. Thus, he no longer dared to hesitate. With a loud roar, he suddenly shot out purple radiant mist from his mouth. The light expanded, forming a purple cloud that enveloped him. Purple divine radiance. Seeing the purple mist, an uproar immediately erupted across the heavens and earth. Everyone in the northern domain knew that Purple Cloud, true monarch, possessed a semi-divine artifact called the Purple Divine Radiance, a powerful protective treasure. When it was activated, even beings of the same level would find it difficult to break through. However, under normal circumstances, Purple Cloud, true monarch, seldom uses this treasure. But now, he has no choice but to use it, which shows just how dangerous Mu Chen must be for him to resort to this. In the distance, Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor, seeing this scene, couldn't help but change their expressions. Their strength, along with Purple Cloud, true monarch, is on par, But if even Purple Cloud True Monarch has been pushed to this point, it means that Chen possesses enough power to threaten them. This guy really underestimated him. They exchanged a glance, their eyes flashing with cold light. Boom, boom, boom. As the deafening sounds echoed, the golden arrows struck violently against the purple radiance, causing the space to collapse, while the purple light swirled violently under the impact. However, the defensive power of this purple radiance was truly terrifying. Earlier, a single arrow had caused Purple Cloud True Monarch considerable trouble, but now, hiding within the purple light, 10 golden arrows only slightly weakened the defense. Purple Cloud True Monarch, sheltered within the purple light, looked up and coldly gazed at Chen. Kid, your attacks are indeed powerful, but how many more can you fire? After all, Purple Cloud True Monarch was a powerhouse who had touched the realm of Heavenly Supreme, and his vision was extraordinary. Such a powerful attack could not be repeatedly used by someone like Chen, who was only half a step into great perfection. Therefore, Purple Cloud True Monarch only needed to remain hidden within the purple radiance, letting Chen exhaust his energy. Once the latter grew weary, he would be able to strike and kill him effortlessly. Of course, while this strategy might be somewhat undignified, if it meant victory, what did a little loss of face matter? Chen, hearing the voice of Purple Cloud True Monarch, smiled and nodded. Such an attack indeed consumes a lot of energy. With his current strength, continuously firing 10 immortal golden arrows had indeed reached his limit. Upon hearing this, Purple Cloud True Monarch sneered. As long as Chen's attack faltered, he could retaliate. But before that cold smile could fully spread across his face, he saw Chen showing him a strange smile. And then, with a sudden gesture, Chen formed a seal with both hands. At the moment the seal was formed, 2 figures, one black and one white, slowly appeared beside him. With the appearance of the black and white Chen, they raised their hands. Immortal divine runes gathered on their immortal golden bodies, quickly condensing into 2 golden longbows in their hands. They drew the bowstrings, locking onto Purple Cloud True Monarch from afar. Chen smiled faintly, and his voice echoed across the world. Next, let's see how long your turtle shell can protect you. At this moment, the cold smile on Purple Cloud True Monarch's face began to freeze. In the vast sky, 3 figures stood in midair. The black and white figures looked exactly like Chen, and what stunned countless powerhouses was that the spiritual energy radiating from these 2 figures was no less than Chen's. Is that a spiritual avatar? How could it be as powerful as the real body? A powerhouse exclaimed in disbelief. Spiritual avatars weren't too rare, but an avatar as strong as the original body had never been heard of. From afar, Purple Cloud True Monarch's face suddenly stiffened. After a long pause, horror finally appeared in his eyes. He had clearly sensed the dangerous aura coming from the black and white Chen. Impossible. How can this guy's spiritual avatar be this strong? Purple Cloud True Monarch roared inside. If that's the case, does this mean he'll be facing 3 Chens with equal strength? Earlier, just one Chen had made him feel like a great enemy. Now, with 3 of them, even Purple Cloud True Monarch couldn't help but feel some unease. However, despite the panic in Purple Cloud True Monarch's heart, Chen paid it no mind. He waved his sleeve, and countless supreme spiritual liquids surged from his robe. He absorbed them into his body, quickly refining them to replenish his energy. While replenishing his spiritual energy, the black and white Chens took a step forward. They raised their golden longbows, locking their sights on Purple Cloud True Monarch, and without expression, released the bowstrings. Hum. The sound of the bowstring vibrating rang out, and 2 beams of golden light shot forward, carrying terrifyingly sharp energy that pierced through the void. In the next instant, they struck heavily against the thick purple radiance. Boom. The purple radiance trembled violently, rolling in waves as layers of it continued to dissipate under the assault of the golden light. Before the purple radiance could stabilize, black and white Chen's next round of attack arrived. Another 2 beams of golden light crashed onto the purple radiance, causing the layers of it to rapidly weaken. All the powerful figures in the heavens and earth watched this scene, their expressions becoming somewhat complicated. It was clear that Chen had completely gained the upper hand, while Purple Cloud True Monarch was forced to retreat into the protection of the Purple Divine Radiance. However, this protection was quickly weakening. With the continuous attacks from Chen's 3 successive strikes, no matter how strong the Purple Divine Radiance was, it would eventually falter. Everyone watching the battle had clearly realized something. The crushing defeat they had expected hadn't occurred. Instead, the Chen they once thought would surely lose was now leaving them deeply shocked. Chen demonstrated with his strength that his power was no weaker than the 3 overlords of the Northern Domain. If this was the case, then the Mu Manor, led by him, certainly possessed the qualifications and strength to become one of the great powers of the Northern Domain. The various factions exchanged glances, silently sighing. It seemed that from now on, the 3 overlords of the Northern Domain would become the 4 overlords. In contrast to the complex feelings of the other factions, the many strong figures of Mu Manor couldn't help but cheer, their eyes filled with fiery admiration as they gazed at Chen's figure. They understood very well that when a faction could have such a pillar of strength, it was incredibly fortunate. The Mansion Master is truly remarkable, Lu Tiandao said, his expression excited. The others nodded enthusiastically, their eyes gleaming with fervor. At this moment, Chen's position and reputation among the powerful figures of Mu Manor had undoubtedly reached its peak. Mandala looked at the excited crowd, a smile flashing across her delicate face. She gazed at Chen's figure, and her expression, though slightly complicated, carried a hint of emotion. When she first met Chen years ago, he was still only a newcomer to the supreme stage. But now, after just a few years, the once weak boy had unknowingly surpassed her. It seems I have to work harder, or else I'll be left behind by this guy, Mandala muttered to herself. Proud as she was, she didn't want to always be protected by Chen. To avoid becoming increasingly irrelevant in the future, she too would have to fight hard to advance along the heavenly supreme path. As the various factions in the heavens and earth pondered the situation, in the sky, with 3 successive attacks from Chen, the once extremely powerful Purple Divine Radiance was gradually becoming thin. Chen stood between black and white Chen, gazing at the now thinned Purple Divine Radiance, his smile cold and sinister. He raised his hand, and the golden great bow formed once again. The bowstring vibrated, and another golden beam of light shot through the void, striking heavily against the flowing Purple Divine Radiance. Boom! This time, the golden light exploded, tearing through the purple radiance like a spear, and the golden light raged as the surrounding purple haze shattered into pieces. Whoosh! With the destruction of the purple radiance, Purple Cloud True Monarch's disheveled figure was sent flying out. He opened his mouth, drawing in the dimming purple radiance, his face dark and filled with fury as he stared at Chen. It seems your turtle shell isn't as invincible as you claimed, Chen said with a faint smile, speaking casually. If he had said something like this before, it would have drawn mockery and laughter. But now, there was only an eerie silence in the air, with countless strong figures freezing in place, shocked and speechless. No one had expected Purple Cloud True Monarch to be forced into such a helpless situation by Chen, especially those forces that had been ordered to obstruct Mu Manor. Their faces turned ashen as they realized that they had misjudged the situation. They had thought Mu Manor would follow in the footsteps of previous challengers, so they had brazenly provoked them. But now, the strength of Mu Manor far surpassed what they had imagined. In the sky, Purple Cloud True Monarch's face darkened to an extreme, his purple pupils flashing with rage. However, after realizing Chen's terrifying combat strength, he knew that he alone could do nothing against him. Now, do you think my Mu Manor is qualified to compete for dominance in the Northern Domain? Chen stared at Purple Cloud True Monarch, a slight smile on his face as he asked calmly. Purple Cloud True Monarch sneered, saying, "The Northern Domain now probably can't accommodate a 4th overlord to rise. Over 80% of the Northern Domain's territory has already been divided among the 3 current overlord factions. If a 4th were to appear, it would inevitably cause great turmoil, possibly even breaking their current balance of power. That would truly be a shame," Chen said with a regretful shake of his head. His expression suddenly turned sharp, and with a swift motion, his hand grasped the air. A golden bow materialized, and without hesitation, he drew the string. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At the same time, the black and white Chen also drew his great bow, and in the next instant, 3 golden arrows shot out with terrifying sharpness, enveloping all possible retreat routes for Purple Cloud True Monarch. The 3 piercing golden arrows flew toward him, and Purple Cloud True Monarch's expression shifted slightly. He inhaled deeply, and his purple eyes glowed wildly. The purple light quickly condensed, eventually transforming into a beam of purple light about 10 feet long, shooting out like a spear. Bang! The purple light collided with one golden arrow, creating an explosion of sound as both vanished in an instant. However, the other 2 golden arrows appeared right in front of Purple Cloud True Monarch. Just as the arrows were about to strike, 2 vast lines of spiritual energy descended from the sky, wrapping around the arrows. Boom! Boom! The overwhelming power erupted as the golden arrows and the 2 vast energy lines shattered simultaneously. The air was filled with rising gasps, and countless eyes shot upward, looking in the direction of Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor. The 2 overlords stood expressionless, gazing at Chen from afar. Clearly, it was them who had intervened earlier to help Purple Cloud True Monarch. Has the time come for you to make a move? Chen looked at the scene, his brow slightly raised. He seemed unsurprised. He knew very well that if Mu Manor aimed for dominance in the northern domain, it would shake the interests of the 3 old overlord factions. They saw the northern domain as their territory, and his attempt to intervene would certainly provoke their collective hostility. Lord of Mu Manor, since you already have the upper hand, why continue to press the matter? Thunder Sound Venerable called from the sky, his voice slow and deliberate. Chen smiled and replied, "Then how do you 2 feel about my earlier question?" Thunder Sound Venerable sighed, a tone of sadness in his voice. "Lord of Mu Manor, the current stability of the northern domain is the result of our 3 factions maintaining the balance. If Mu Manor seeks to dominate, it would likely stir a bloody storm in the northern domain. Therefore, we all hope that Lord Mu Manor will shift your focus beyond the northern domain. If that happens, we 3 factions will lend our full support." Upon hearing such shameless words, Chen couldn't help but laugh. After a moment, he stopped and said flatly, "What if I insist on competing for dominance in the northern domain?" Thunder Sound Venerable, Golden Rock Emperor, and Purple Cloud True Monarch exchanged glances before sighing. "If that is the case, then our 3 factions will become the enemies of Mu Manor, and we will not stop until it is destroyed." He shook his head with regret, but his eyes held a chilling light, full of murderous intent. Chen's strength had sparked their fear and hatred. His words sent ripples through the northern wilderness, and all forces began to stir. It seemed that the 3 overlord factions were indeed prepared to temporarily ally and eliminate this challenger, Mu Manor. If that happened, Mu Manor would be in real danger. Though Chen had displayed incredible combat power earlier, even forcing Purple Cloud True Monarch into a disadvantage, the arrival of Thunder Sound Venerable and Golden Rock Emperor could easily change the tide. Under the gaze of countless eyes, Chen narrowed his eyes, focusing on Thunder Sound Venerable, Golden Rock Emperor, and Purple Cloud True Monarch. The world around them was eerily silent, save for the sound of the wind. The silence lasted for a moment before Chen finally shook his head and, staring at Thunder Sound Venerable, Golden Rock Emperor, and Purple Cloud True Monarch, said softly, "In that case, let's see if you have the ability to back up your threats." His words, though quiet, rang out like thunder across the land, sending shockwaves through the hearts of countless powerful beings. The Lord of Mu Manor was truly planning to challenge the 3 overlords by himself.